I walked out of the range feeling like an idiot, and it wasn't even some crazy drill. I trusted the wrong, safe 9mm longer than I should have. So I went straight to the gun counter this morning. The boring, smart choice sat there untouched. Guys reached past it like it smelled bad. Same questions, same wallets, different grabs. I used to roll my eyes at taking over. Then I started seeing it where nobody performed. Rental walls, parking lot holsters, and the trade-in shelf. And I had this little uh-oh moment. What if I carried the wrong answer on my belt? Not long ago, I showed up with my safe pick, smug, and the guy in the next lane ran a rental I'd dismissed. My target looked like trash. His looked clean. He packed up like it was normal. Back at the counter, I asked what got reordered fast and what came back with excuses. He answered fast. It made me feel stupid. Stay with me. The last one won for a reason a couple hated admitting out loud. I recently walked into a shop in Austin and the front case looked normal. Too normal. I asked about the SIG P365X macro, and the guy didn't even look at the glass. He just paused and said, "Those don't make it out here anymore." Cool. Scarcity theater. I almost laughed. Then a guy walked in like he'd done it 100 times. No small talk. No questions. The employee nodded once and vanished behind the door. That wasn't sales. That was a handoff. When the X macro landed on the counter, I didn't get a warm, fuzzy, it made sense moment. I got annoyed because it felt right in the hand in a way a lot of micro guns didn't. Full grip, carry weight, and it didn't feel like I had to baby it. So I did the quick test I always did when I didn't trust the hype. I ran it fast, reset, bounce, one-handed, ugly speed. If a gun lied, it showed up right there. The X macro didn't lie. I hated that. Here's the flaw. It made guys start tinkering immediately. Triggers, comps, springs, and then they acted shocked when it got weird. So yeah, this thing took over because it stole 2 jobs at once. And the part that bothered me, people didn't buy it like they wanted a pistol. They bought it like they wanted a shortcut. Early this year, I stood off to the side while an instructor ran a small group. Nothing polished. Real shooters, real questions. One guy asked, "After everybody burns money and tries a bunch of stuff, what do they actually stick with?" Instructor didn't do the depends dance. He just nodded at the table. 2 Glock 43 XMOS sat there like they belonged. I almost rolled my eyes. Of course it was a Glock answer, but he didn't say it loud. He dropped his voice like he didn't want it turning into a damn argument and goes, "They show up with something else. They don't leave with it." That hit me harder than it should have, so I watched. Range bags opened between drills. Guys who used to defend their setups got quiet. No announcement, no victory lap. Just a different gun in the holster the next time. And the proof wasn't tight groups, it was pace. When things got ugly, rush draws, sloppy reloads, one-handed work, cool pistols started doing little stupid things people tried to ignore. The 43 XMOS stayed boring. Flaw? It didn't click for every hand. And the second guy started upgrading it. The simplicity got messy. Then the one after this showed up. Bigger, slicker, full-size confident. And it made people talk like they'd already won before they proved anything. Not long ago, I asked a shop owner why the Walther PDP full-size section kept expanding. Not one slot like the case got rearranged because it had to. He didn't smile. He looked irritated. He goes, "Didn't plan to push it this hard." Then he added, like he hated admitting it, "It just doesn't sit." That meant something. No promo, no bundle, no big push. Just constant movement until the store reorganized around the gun. I didn't trust it, so I ran 1 hard. Fast draw, 2, hard transition, 2, reload, one-handed, ugly pace. The kind where your grip told on you. The PDP did this annoying thing. It made average shooters look better than they usually looked. Not magic, not perfection, just faster sooner, cleaner sooner. And people felt that in 1 mag. That's why it kept leaving. It punished lazy hands. When it got snappy, it didn't apologize. Guys either tightened up or they quietly dumped it and blamed the gun. If you saw a PDP just sitting there untouched, that wasn't luck. That was you being late. Then the one after this showed up. Different vibe, more serious tool, and it embarrassed people who tried to buy skill with money. The CZ Shadow 2. Carry showed up in a way I don't like. Nobody yelled about it, no sold out everywhere circus. But suddenly everybody knew somebody looking for one, and that was the first red flag. Because that's how the quiet stampede starts. I caught myself checking listings when I had no reason to. Not because I needed it, because I hated the feeling of being behind. Then I kept hearing the same line from different people, different places. If you see one, don't wait. No explanation, just pressure. So I did the one thing that shut my ego up. I got behind one and pushed it. Draws on the timer. Hard transitions. One-handed. The kind of pace where nice guns usually turn into divas. The Shadow 2. Carry didn't. It tracked stupid clean. It made me look more in control than I felt, and I hated that because it meant the hype wasn't just hype. Here's the flaw nobody said out loud. It carried like a serious gun. Weight, bulk. That you're committing to this feeling on your belt. And if you weren't honest about that, you started leaving it at home, which made the whole chase look real dumb. That's when it clicked. People weren't shopping, they were hunting. And when grown men started quietly hunting a pistol, like it's a ticket out of their own skill gap, that's when it snapped. A couple months back, nobody walked in asking for the Springfield Echelon. It sat there like a yeah, sure gun, the one people handled while they waited for the real choice. Then I started seeing the same thing over and over. Hands went back to the Echelon like it had a magnet in it. One dude stood at the counter bouncing between two other pistols for 10 minutes. Every time he set the Echelon down, he picked it back up without even noticing. Like his brain argued, and his hands already voted. Finally, he stopped, stared at it, and did that tight, annoyed laugh. I didn't come here for this. So I did what I always did when a gun started winning on vibes. I tried to make it lose. Hard grip, fast snaps, press, reset, press. If it got sloppy, if it bounced weird, if it lied, it died right there. It didn't. The Echelon stayed stupid consistent when people sped up. That's why it stole decisions. Flaw. People treated that consistency like permission to skip work. They started building a setup before they learned the gun, and if the grip didn't match their hand, it showed up the second they pushed speed. Then, the one after this showed up, smaller, lighter, easy button vibes, and it made people act like effort was optional. A buddy of mine called it before I did, and that pissed me off. He said, like, watch what people ask for when they're tired. Not sleepy, burnt out, fried from watching reviews, chasing the newest thing, buying better, and still not trusting their own choice. That's when the M&P Shield Plus showed up. Not in hype posts, in quiet counter talk. The kind where a guy stared at the glass a little too long and said, man, I just need something that works. I treated the Shield Plus like the boring answer. Like recommending it meant you ran out of personality. So I tried to make it annoy me. I carried it, then ran it like I didn't have time. Draw from concealment, first shot clean, then a fast pair. Reset discipline, one-handed follow-up when my grip got lazy. It stayed honest, no drama, no learning curve speech. It just did the job while I rushed and got sloppy. That was the shift for me. The Shield Plus didn't win hearts. It ended arguments. It was the gun people landed on when they were done paying the overthinking tax. Flaw, it got snappy when you pushed speed. And if the grip didn't match your hand, it punished you fast. Then a guy slid his phone across the counter with a screenshot and said, "You seen this thing yet?" And the room got quiet. Late last year, I kept hearing Ruger RXM in passing. I wrote it off as budget season noise. Cheap gun, tight wallets, end of year, happens. Then it started beating guns. It had no business beating, not once, not in one shop. Bigger names, better reputations, stuff guys bragged about owning. That's when the question stopped being, why is it selling? And turned into, what are people seeing that I'm late to? So I quit talking and put one under a little heat. Cold start, fast draw, ugly cadence, reload when my hands got impatient. I didn't baby it. I tried to make it cough, because if it won on price and fell apart under speed, I got my answer, and I moved on. It didn't fall apart, it ran boring. It tracked cleaner than I wanted it to. It didn't feel like a cheap win. It felt like a smart buy that embarrassed expensive decisions. And that's why it moved past bargain hunters. Now the flaw, the trigger under speed had that vague, slightly mushy thing. Not unusable, just enough that when you ran it hard, it didn't hide sloppy input. It told on you, that's what bothered me. RXM wasn't selling because people were broke. It sold because it made people feel stupid for overpaying. So that's what taking over looked like in real life for me. What kept getting bought, carried, and not quietly dumped after the first range day. If your favorite didn't show up, it didn't mean it sucked. It usually meant it stalled where it mattered. Comfort, trust, resale, or people just moved on and never talked about it again. Now here's the part that matters. If you carried what you carried today because it felt safe, was it actually safe or was it just familiar? Drop the receipts. What sold out near you? What replaced your old carry? And what you traded in after one bad trip? The trade-in pile told on a lot of people. And yeah, I still didn't fully trust one of these, even though it kept showing up like a bad habit. That bothered me. I'm Steve, and I'm not convinced the market finished flipping yet.